those that are winning at the highest level, apart is the way they interact right away with their client over the phone, the way they prospect, the way they kind of handle themselves on the phone. So I'm just going to go over a couple different strategies that might be a little different, but might have more of an impact on a result for you guys. Okay. Next. So first impressions matter. Okay. There's a study done that showed that 72% of customers on phone sales are likely to spread the word to 6 more people if their first interaction with you is positive. Okay? Whether we like it or not, your first impression matters. And it's not just you helping someone out per se, but it's the way you handle yourself. It's your tonality, it's the grace that you kind of servitude with. All of that makes all of the difference. You only have one chance to make a first impression, okay? And if you start behind the 8 ball, you're never going to get in front. Even though we do phone sales, first impressions are more than just what you're saying on the phone. In my opinion, it also depends on the way you handle yourself. The way you do one thing is the way you do all things. Okay? If you are chaotic, in my opinion, your appearance is chaotic, right? You're not dressed to the nines, you get what I'm trying to say, right? Chances are the way you do your script is gonna be chaotic, okay? If you're super messy, your area's messy, your desk is messy, your car's messy, your house is messy, your pitch is probably sloppy, okay? And the biggest question you can ask yourself is, would you buy from me? If you heard yourself, if you saw yourself, would you buy from me? Okay? Next. How to make a great first impression, when you're kind of doing phone sales in my eyes, is to be attentive, right? And more importantly, what that means for me is I have to write shit down. How many times has your girlfriend, your mom, someone asked you to go to a grocery store, right? And they say, hey RJ, I need you to pick up cereal, milk, dish soap, flour, and cold brew. Okay? And I don't write anything down, and I'm like, yep, got it. And they say, are you sure you got it all? And I'm like, yep, I got it all. And I go and I get 3 out of the 5. Or I get 4 out of the 5. Right? You have to be attentive. Write everything down. The way I kind of train, my new agents is the comment section of VanillaSoft is your diary. Write all that down, write it down on your calendar, whatever you do, write it all down. Okay? And when you kind of are working your leads on VanillaSoft, the way I kind of advocate and I preach it is, be a problem solver. They aren't just looking for insurance. Figure out why their name is on your computer screen. What do they like? What do they not like? What's good? What's bad? What's their situation? Okay? Really be a problem solver and have that cap on and have intent with everyone you're interacting with. The way I, prospect a 26-year-old is the same way I'm gonna, prospect a family. Okay? Nothing changes. If I'm pitching at 1,800, it's the same way I pitch a $200 app. Okay? Nothing changes. I have intent with both distinctions. Okay? Next. And more importantly, be you. Okay? There are thousands of private agents for healthcare. Okay? There's like 600 or 400 in this building. Alright? There's only one of you, so let that shine. Every single person, I hate when a call goes, what's your income? Are you taking medications? Right? That's what everyone says. So figure out ways to kind of set yourself apart. Okay? And by doing that, you're going to end up getting more rapport with your clients. You're going to get more of that edifying process with someone, and you're going to increase your odds of essentially selling them. Okay? And by doing that, you have to go the extra mile. If you guys have questions too, feel free to raise your hand. Alright? Next. When you are done with your call, right? So my calls on VanillaSoft, my initial calls, right, when I'm dialing my leads, it's all of 15, 20 minutes, on a perfect conversation. Okay? It's nothing crazy, it's nothing that is strenuous, but when I am done with my call on VanillaSoft, these are the things that I know exactly every single time. I know what your pain point is. Is it price? right? You think you're paying too much. Is that why you're on my computer screen? Is your doctor not in network? Is that why you're on my computer screen? Right? Did you just move, to Florida, but you travel a lot, state to state? Is that why you're on my computer screen? Okay? Is your deductible super fucking high? And that's why you're on my computer screen. Okay? So I know exactly at the end of every call why they are there, what is their pain point, why they put that request in online. Okay? And I also know what do you like. The questions that I ask every single time is, hey John, have you ever shopped for private healthcare before? They're always going to say no. Why do I know they said no or they haven't shopped before? Because they're on my computer screen. Okay? No one knows that they're going to get bombarded like they are going to get bombarded, right? Everyone thinks they go online, they get a quote, they hit enroll now, and they're done. They did it all themselves. No one intentionally, in my opinion, knows what they're about to go through. So I know they're new to this, and the way I set myself apart is I just explain it as a hassle-free process. Okay? And I'll ask them, I was like, listen, I know this process is overwhelming. I know that, you're kind of newer to this. Let me ask you, John, because I have access to everything and I'm not captive. What was a carrier you had in the past that you had a great experience with? Did you just want me to look at those options? Okay? And if they say Blue Cross Blue Shield, sweet. Okay? I'll go on Sherpa, show you all the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans with no subsidy, and then I'm going to flip it to my plan. Okay? Or if Blue Cross Blue Shield is not in your area for Marketplace, right? I'll go on eHealth and I'll show you a couple of short-term plans. And I'll highlight before I do my screen share the limitations and, briefly go over that to see if that's something they're okay with. Every single time they're like, no, we're not okay with that. And then I'll do another flip to my plans, okay? But the reason why I ask, what did you have a great experience with is just to set myself apart, okay? I don't want to give a perception that I'm captive. I don't want to give a perception that I'm shoving a United plan down someone's throat, okay? When you do that, you give the perception that you're selling, and that's going to create a bigger wall between you and a prospect, okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then I'm going to ask questions that I can use against them, right? The one thing that I feel like not a lot of people do is the rate lock, okay? Our plans for PA, your rate lock's for 24 months no matter what, right? But I'll tell them, listen, if we can get you qualified before the 1st, I'm able to lock this rate for 24 months. Okay, so I give you an expectation that you can choose to do that's going to give you a better benefit on the back end. Okay, I let them know underwriting takes 2 days at max. I'll say like, listen, underwriting can take 3 weeks. I know it's the 20th of September and you need it by the 15th of August. We're getting down to the wire here, and I create that sense of urgency. I'll ask you, when did you need coverage effective by before I even go over products or any kind of pitch? And what that does is that ties you down on the back end. If I say, hey, when did you need a new plan to, theoretically start for you? And you say September 1st, I can create urgency on my discovery call. Okay? But if I don't ask that question and then I pitch you and you're like, email me, we'll get back to you, and then I'm asking you, when did you need it to start by? Oh my gosh, we have to get this in right away. You're a salesman at that point. Okay? You're not an advisor. Okay? And then what I always tell, my agents is to be a fucking yes man. On a discovery call, and the way I work and the way I do my business is I don't do shit on the fly. Never have, never will. I do my discovery call first. I get all my information, I write it down, I do my due diligence, and then I schedule a hard time for me to go over all the shit in the discovery call with either my plan or do a screen share with Sherpa, and then switch it to my plan. Okay? I don't do it simultaneously, or I don't do it on the same call, and the only reason why I don't do that is, I don't know, it's taking rate issues, to be honest with you. Okay? But I will never argue with someone on a discovery call. Okay? The question that I always get, or the statement I always get, regardless if I'm working an $8 lead on Marketplace or a next gen lead, is, hey, I'm paying a premium, I don't want to pay anything for my medical bills. All right, if I'm paying a premium, I don't want to pay anything to go to a doctor, right? I'm not going to argue with you and say that doesn't exist, right? Because I'm not trying to build that rapport that way. You know, what I'm going to say is like, hey, yeah, you know, I totally agree. It kind of sounds like to me you're looking for something that's comprehensive, that you can use from state to state, but doesn't have a deductible, and you can get all the benefits from the coverage up front right away. Is that something you're looking for? Yeah. And then I kind of get all that information right there. Does that make sense? You can literally tell me anything on a discovery call, and I'm going to agree with you. Okay? And then when I'm pitching you, that's when I'm going to kind of go more into the nit and the grit of it, and I'm going to show you the pros and the cons of it all. Okay? But I know for a fact, I think everyone here knows for a fact, that our plans are comparatively better than any other alternative. Right?
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. So if I can show you all of these shitty plans, and then I can show you our plans, even though you're going to come out of pocket, you know, here and there, depending how you have it configured, you're always going to opt to make a self-decision, I want that one. Okay? But if I argue with you in the beginning, or if I tell you your belief is false, or your belief is unattainable, they're going to keep shopping. They're going to talk to the next person that calls them in 3 seconds, right? Or they're going to respond to that next text message. Okay? So when I'm doing that discovery call, I'm going really deep into it, and I'm just being a yes man. Okay? Questions I ask, you know, without asking is, I don't do, what's your income? Are you taking medications? Great. Hop on my screen, let's go over everything, because I found it in 3 seconds, right? Like, that's not how I work, right? The first thing I always ask is, have you shopped for private healthcare before? And I set an expectation. You know, I let them know they're going to get bombarded. You know, I apologize, you know, right away. I, you know, separate myself from everyone, and I tell you I'm self-employed. Okay, I have access to everything on and off the marketplace. I'm not going to shove a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan down your throat. My job's really just to understand you and figure out what the boxes you need to be checked are, and see what plan can check the most boxes. That's verbatim what I say at the end. Okay? Instead of asking, are you on medications on the phone, you know, what I'll say is, I'll say like, hey John, you know, do you traditionally satisfy deductible every year? If the answer no, they're healthy. You know, knock on wood, right? But if I say, hey, do you satisfy deductible every year? Oh yeah, we do, right? Right away, I know you're fucking sick, okay? So like, that's the way I kind of operate that question, okay? And I just get more of an expectation, you know, hey, we never satisfy deductible. Great, it sounds like you guys are in good health, really don't use your insurance outside of, you know, preventative care. That's exactly it. I know I'm gonna harp on the first dollar benefits for wellness in my pitch, okay? You know, the question I'll ask is, you know, are you looking to bridge the gap from another employer coverage to pick you up? Or are you looking for longevity with your coverage, right? And I'll ask them that, and then they're either gonna say like, yeah, you know, we just got laid off, you know, we're actively looking for jobs, okay? That determines how I'm going to pitch PA, okay? If they say, you know, they're self-employed, you know, I'll kind of do a little more digging there, and that's going to determine if I do a secure advantage, you know, pitch, okay? I'll ask too, you know, a lot of the people that, you know, I sell, they obviously came from employer coverage, okay? I'll ask them questions on that. Did your employer plan have a high deductible? Okay, did you like it? Did you use it? Okay? I'll ask them, you know, listen, I know you had a high deductible with your employer. Did you have the option to getting a lower deductible, or was that super expensive? No, we didn't have an option for a lower deductible. Why? Because it's a cafeteria plan. And I'll say, okay, you know, what's cool when you're kind of looking for private healthcare is you have the ability to customize the coverage. You know, are you looking to stay with a high deductible plan like you've been used to, or is having lower out-of-pocket maximums, you know, more beneficial for you? Okay? And that's also going to determine how I'm going to create and honestly tailor my pitch. Okay? Next. And understanding their expectation. I don't like the word budget. I don't ask, what is your budget? I don't ask, what are you willing to pay? Because I know for me, regardless how much money I make, if someone asks, hey RJ, what's your budget for insurance? I'm gonna say 0. I'm gonna say 5. It's a figment, right? No one wants to pay an arm and a leg, and honestly, no one wants to pay for insurance, right? Um, but I ask budget in a different way, and I say, what are you used to having, right? You're used to an employer plan. Oh, that's great. Did your employer, reduce the premium for your family? No, we were paying $400 bi-weekly, right? So once I get an expectation there, I know how to tailor my quote for you. Okay? If you say, hey, I'm insured with the state, right? Okay, are you getting a subsidy with the state? No, right? Right then and there, I know a reasonable expectation of what you're used to paying. Okay? Every single person wants to max shit out. I love doing that, right? But it's not feasible to do that on every call. It's not. It's honestly, I think for me, my personal production, I may have like a maxed out Megart app, maybe once a month, if that, right? And that's just being honest, okay? If a family is, 26, 27, they have a kid or 2 kids, right? And they're used to paying $750, me pitching a $1,300 maxed out app doesn't make much sense. Okay, especially if that family makes $80K a year, they're not going to qualify for a subsidy. But me pitching a $1,300 app that's completely maxed out is taking 25% of their household income. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Does that make sense? Okay, so I really understand your expectation. I understand, what your previous coverage was through, because everyone had a previous coverage, right? I don't think I've ever, in my 5 years here, and in all the production I've ever done, I don't think I've ever talked to a single person that said I've had insurance my entire life. We've all had it, right? There's just a reason why they stopped having it, okay? And it's figuring out what that reason is and kind of getting that expectation and writing it down, okay? Yeah, when I say don't max shit out, by the way, it doesn't mean to pearl everyone. It doesn't mean to strip a plan, right? It just means be conscious in what you're doing, okay? Next. And send the text right away, okay? So if I talk to someone on VanillaSoft, or if I'm talking to a next-gen or a marketplace, and it's a great combo, right? I know your pain point, I know what you're used to, I know what you want, I know what you don't want, I know all the boxes you want to have checked off. And I wrote it down, okay? The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, hey John, how this kind of works is depending on what website you went on, sometimes that gets resold to like captive agents or call centers that just harass the daylights out of you. Has that occurred? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me stop that for you. What I want to do is I'm going to text you from my personal number, okay? Did you get my text? And I'm texting them while I'm talking to them on my headset, okay? Did you get my text? Yep, you got it. Perfect. Save my number, okay? I know you say you're getting blown up. I'm gonna go right and try to stop all of those calls and revoke that consent of contact for you. But this is the only line I use. When we talk again at 5:30, it's gonna be from my personal number, okay? All these other calls, they're not gonna be from me, okay? And that's how I set myself apart, and I do that while talking to them on the phone, and I automatically send my license, okay? There have been so many times where I hear an agent having a great conversation on the phone, and they get all of the information, and they build that rapport, and they say, hey, when can we go over those options? What time works best for your schedule to see which route's gonna be the best fit for your family? And John says, call me at 6:30. 6:30, got you, and bye, right? And then all of a sudden 6:30 comes, and they call John, and John doesn't answer because John doesn't know who's calling. Okay, so sending the text message, the confirmation text right away, is huge if you're getting ghosted. Okay, and if you feel like you are getting ghosted a lot and you have traction, but your sales are, correlated to the traction you're having, ask yourself, am I sending my text message with them on the phone with me? And if you're not, try to switch it up. Okay? That's literally like what I sent. This was like my client called Allison, and that's my text. Hey Allison, it's Ron. Pleasure speaking with you. I'll have it scheduled for 1 p.m. CST. Attaches my Wisconsin license as well for your records. Stay safe, right? And I'll send that text with them on the phone, and I'll say, did you get that perfect? Do me a favor, send me a thumbs up, okay? And then that's it, okay? Next.
Is that the last one?
I think, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it might be the last one.
That's pretty much it. When I kind of talk about the discovery, the initial call, does anyone have any questions for me on anything I went over, how I do it, any questions, how you do it, anything like that? What's that?
You never fist anybody? Like you never pick up a gold bar and on the fly selling?
Yeah, so the reason why I don't do that, right, is I used to. Okay, without a doubt. And then like I started this company like 5 years ago. And before, like, no one taught me what a ticket rate was. That wasn't a thing, and I've lost so much money by having a shitty ticket rate in the first 2 years, to the point where like I'm scarred, like, to be honest with you. So that's why I don't. Okay, but if you build a rapport on the call and it's going well and everything's kosher and you just feel it, is the best way I could describe it. Like, you feel that feeling, go for the close. Okay, for me, like I lost a shit ton, like, of money just without having bonuses and keeping my advance month like at 6 and not at 9. That I'm personally like emotionally scarred, so that's why I won't do the one call close. Okay, and that's why I set it up. But if you like feel like you're having that great conversation, go ahead, do it. The cool thing about this career is like the shit that you guys have, like, I never had when I started. Like, there was no training platform. There was nothing about a take-it rate. There was nothing about milestones. I literally got a headset and like, good luck. And I had to figure it out on my own. Okay, you guys have that structure and training to like make it more successful. You know? Yeah.
What do you think about like a one call close makes the ticket rate like worse?
For me, it was ghosted B calls. Yeah, it was ghosted B calls, but I was like maxing the piss out of people. Okay, so like I call you and like it's, let's say a 250 Sapphire Mineral Megart, I'm pitching 400 to a 26-year-old, and I didn't realize kind of everything I just went over. I learned all this shit the hard way, right? And I was closing it. AD was great. Ghosted B calls left and right. So like that's why like it was a little different.
Do you think that has to do more with the one call close or other factors?
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's the one call close, right? Because things were different, like, when I started. Like, I could literally sell someone, and then, like, the way new business was, you can sell that person 2 hours later, and you can still submit the application, right? Whereas, like, now, if that application is submitted, no one can touch it. So it's a little different now, right? But it's just like that scarring is why I have that hesitation, there. But if you have that vibe, close it. Right? Everything's going right, perfectly qualified client, everything's going your expectation, close it. I think for me, because I was getting, undercut all the time, right, when I started, setting that expectation, for appointment at 4 hours, knowing that they're going to get bombarded and they still pick up my call at, 4 o'clock, I know, like, you're going to do your B call, kind of thing. Yeah.
What do you do if another agent does try and undercut you? Like, how do you respond? Like, if
if
they're
an
bought the
agent-
plan and then another person calls them and they're like, well, they tried to sell me this for like $100 cheaper.
Yeah, so the best way is like, you gotta really identify with your prospects, right? If there's a 26-year-old, they don't want secure advantage 9 times out of 10. They don't want anything crazy. They want the lowest rate with the best value, right? So when I kind of get undercut, I explain in my pitch why it's, $250. This is why. Now this person, and you liked it all, right? It's $250 because I got all the boxes you wanted to be checked off. You're super active, you have value in accident protection, right? And I explained to them like, okay, well, it's $150 because these boxes that you said that you wanted checked off aren't checked off on that $150 price plan. So like, let me ask you, like, is that more important to you, that super low rate, or is it more important that you have what you said you wanted to be satisfied? Does that make sense?
So with the way you have your text messages set up at the beginning, you said you do like a 15-minute call, and let's say, and then you hang up and do an appointment for later.
Yeah.
Right? How often do you feel like you get people to actually pick up at that appointment from just that 15-minute conversation?
A lot.
And then like what do you do? Do you do anything beyond that text message, like before the appointment?
Like this?
Yeah.
No.
So you just send that and then call them for hours.
Yeah, because I do all the digging on the front end. Like the question that I ask all the time is not like what coverage have you had in the past, right? But I'll also ask like if you have a kid, right? Like who here is a parent? Okay. Your kid is the most important thing to you, without a doubt, right? So the first thing I always ask is who's your kid's pediatrician? Right? Let me make sure they stay in network. What my goal is for you, John, is for everything to stay the same. I want you to continue to use the same doctors you like to use. The only difference might be the look of your insurance cards, right? And that's how I build that rapport up. Because I don't go over like the pricing per se or the exact product per se right away. I kind of gather all of that info and I'm intentful with it and I write shit down. And then that kind of leads them to picking up the call at 4 o'clock, right? But if I call you on the discovery call and I say, yep, John, $500, United, no deductible, low max out of pocket, like it? Great, call you at 5 and we'll do the application. Okay? And then someone else, does more of the digging and goes a little deeper into it and builds that rapport, they're probably gonna go with that person. You know what I mean?
So you essentially talk to them knowing that they're going to talk to someone else, and you just know that like you're going to be the unique one.
Yeah, it's not that I know they're gonna talk to someone else, but I'm not scared of it.
Right.
Like I'll say like talk to whoever you want, insurance is black and white. There's no magical insurance plan out there, right? And I know that because I have every plan available to you. So that's kind of how I play. I think it's the game like poker almost. Like I'm a huge like poker. I like gambling to be honest, right? And it's almost like you have pocket aces and you're at the table. The last thing I want to do is go all in. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna slowly build up a pot, and then that's how I get more money. At the end of the game. Any other questions?
RJ.
Yeah.
How do you feel does it defeat the purpose if I go all the way through the app and get the banking and just not submit it and call them before I submit it?
Yeah, that's just like that. That's cool. It's like that's great. Like that's kosher.
Or might that give you maybe a better chance of them answering the phone? Or how do you feel about that?
No, so that's like when I first started out and I had my issues with it. Like I literally lost over like $270,000 from gig rate issues. Like we added up my production, we added up all the bonuses. Like it was over like $250,000 of advances that I never got, right? And when I was still doing shit on the fly, that's exactly how I would do it. Is I close you on the fly, I get all that information, save and exit, schedule the V call for like 6 o'clock, and I'll text you at 5:30. I'll text you at 5 o'clock. Hey John, I just want to make sure that 5 o'clock still works for that verification call. You say yes, submit. Okay, that's like the perfect harmony of how to protect your take-in rate, but still close shit on the fly and get that euphoric feeling. In my opinion.
Are there any other pros and cons like living in euphoric feeling things and doing it that way versus the way you do it?
Literally no pro and con. Yeah, that's literally like that's like what you said. It's like a perfect like avenue. Because the way I do it is to protect my take-in rate, right? The way you just did it still solves that issue. Yeah.
How much you like? I guess how much importance when you schedule the V call, do you just kind of say like, hey, what time do you want to do it, or do you kind of like try to get them to do it?
No, I don't give anyone time to do a V call. I give you the time. I'll say like, hey, the next person verification call. This is what, and I do like my V call prep. It looks like the earliest they can get you would be 5 o'clock. Does that work with your schedule? And then it's done.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'll never say, hey, when do you want to do a V call?
Yeah.
Because they'll say like fucking October
Next
10th.
week.
Yeah.
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 2025 January 5th.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I always give you the time for the V-call.
So when you do that on the screen share, you don't show that.
I don't show my V-call page.
Oh,
Yeah. Or I can, and I'll click it and say this is the earliest time. You know, and I'll let them know it's like a 10-minute call, and they can pick any time. But I won't show them my times for like October 5th. You know.
oh, you mean like the time clock days?
Exactly. Yep. And I'll even say shit like, hey, we have like 24 hours to knock this out, right? If I feel like they wanted to do it on October 5th, I would say like, hey, we have 24 hours to, you know, get medically qualified. I'll make something up like that. Anything? Yeah.
You have people who just ask for appointment times days out. You send stop checkings and stuff over text.
Yeah, that sucks, to be honest. I do get that a lot. I don't send soft checks, but like what I'll do is like let's say like it's a family, right? And I know the pediatrician, I know like who the family doctor is. You know, one of the questions I don't ask is who's the wife's OB, right? And I know you have an OB, so then I'll ask, you know, if I, you know, prospect you on Monday and our appointment's Wednesday. What I'm gonna do is like Tuesday afternoon, whatever time I had the conversation with you, I try to mirror that same time going forward, right? So if I did a discovery call with you at 2 o'clock, I will check in with you on Tuesday around 2 o'clock, and I'll say like, hey Jordan, I'm so sorry, you know, I'm just, you know, trying to dot my I's, cross my T's. I completely forgot to ask you, you know, who's your wife's OB? You know, I wanna make sure she would stay in network as well. And then if you respond to me, I know we're great, and you come Wednesday, right? So that's how like I'll do it.
So you say like pocket questions.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all think of a pocket question, you know what I mean? But it's just like confirming the appointment without you really confirming the appointment. The last thing I want is, you know, someone that's structured or that lives by schedule, and I do a discovery call on Monday, and they're like, yeah, you know, Wednesday at 1 o'clock works awesome with my calendar, right? And then Monday night, hey John, does Wednesday at 1 o'clock still work? Awesome. Morning John, just want to make sure 1 o'clock Wednesday still works with you, right? Perfect. Evening John, you know, I'm getting everything ready, I just want to make sure 1 p.m. Wednesday still works for you, right? Morning, John. Hope you're having a great day. I just want to make sure 1 p.m. works today, right? Like you're gonna like be annoying, you know. So that's why I do those pocket questions.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I have historically had issues more so not with verification calls but with not takens. And I know a lot of them are typically when I get a hold of them back after they went not taken is that either with the budget I oversold them, right? They
Yeah.
couldn't afford what I charged them. Should have bottomed it out or gotten an naysayer out. Or maybe they talk to like in a rare case scenario a friend or somebody that where they trust them obviously more than me, right? Other than that, what do you think also could be contributing to more or less in most cases for those not takings?
I think it's those two things, and like the way, like to be honest with you, right? It's either price or them going a different route. I think the way like I do to avoid not takens is that if I know you're uninsured, I don't give you an option to start the coverage. It makes no sense that if I'm uninsured, why I want insurance to start on October 1st. I'm uninsured. You know what I mean? So I'll say like, hey, you know, because you're uninsured, you know, we're gonna have this policy start for you right away as soon as you're approved. Awesome. I don't give you that option, right? Or hey, I know your employer coverage is ending on the 1st of October. We're gonna have this plan pick you up on the 1st. Is that okay? And I don't give them the
That's
you know
a
what I
good
mean?
point. If you're someone who doesn't have insurance right now, there's no reason to set the effective date out. You got to bring that in closer.
Yeah, if they're setting it out, it's either a you issue or it's a product issue,
Makes sense.
right? It makes no sense to do that. And then for like the friend thing, like I don't buy that objection. I get that objection, but if you have a friend that does insurance, why the fuck are you on my computer screen? You know, why not just go to your friend? Why go online? Like there's something else there. You know, and I'll call the kettle black on it sometimes.
Is there anything else you think is a big contributor to that?
I think those two things. It's like don't like give them the option to push it out 45 days. I literally like will say like, hey, you're uninsured. We're gonna start this right away.
Right. And if so they want to set it out regardless 45 days, we just hold the app, right?
I just ask them why.
I'm saying if we got past that part where they can't.
Yeah, no. If they're like, hey, I'm uninsured. I want to start 45 days. I'll be like, hey, you're uninsured. Why do you want to wait 45 days?
Well, that's when I'll start getting paid again.
Yeah. Yeah, that might not be the best client.
Hold
Yeah, that's the best client, that's
It
what
might not be
he's
the
losing.
best
He
client.
ain't got no money.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
so
just,
then
it
that
might
one-
not be the best. You know what I mean? So like that comes to the family shit,
What are
right?
you doing?
You know, if your policy is taking 40% of their income, they're not the best client. right? You know, I'm not gonna ask your income, but I'm gonna ask like an expectation of what you're used to having. If you're used to paying $5 and I'm charging you $3.50, there's a little red flag that goes off in my head, you know, on that, right? So that's kind of like how I like do it there. All good? Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys, you know, got some good fun.
I dove so deep into your ocean. This inch of your